The views expressed in this interview are those of the individuals and do not reflect the official policy or position of the U.S. government, the Department of Defense, the U.S. Navy, or the Naval Postgraduate School. Welcome to the Trident Room, brewer of stout conversation, unfiltered and on tap. On today's episode, host Alanna Youngblood speaks with Mr. Dino Pick, Director of International Graduate Programs at Naval Postgraduate School, and picks his brain on topics ranging from his own military career to AI and the future of linguistics in operations and diplomacy.
Part 2 of a 2-part episode.
So, you commanded the Defense Language Institute, which is a major educational institution. With what you just said, what are the biggest gaps in military education today?
Well, first, I would say that our professional development of officers and NCOs, as well as the initial entry training of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, is solid. We are blessed with strong commitments by all the service leaders to build lethal, capable, competent soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. I think, broadly speaking, I would start with that, and I would apply that on the language side to Defense Language Institute. There is no place like it in the world. It produces, and I went through as a Arabic basic course student in 1995, and I used to tell every class that started when I was in command that I thought I was pretty hot stuff when I showed up there in 1995 as an Arabic basic course student. I was trilingual already. I had majored in Farsi in my undergraduate. I had taken 5 years of Spanish, grew up as a native speaker of Assyrian, and within 2 weeks of starting my Arabic basic course, I felt like roadkill. I was absolutely struggling like everyone else and working my tail off. But at the end of 15 months, I, as were all the other graduates, was proficient in Arabic. I could read it, write it, speak it, listen. And so the magic at DLI is the faculty. The faculty at DLI and the program of study, the way it's structured, is phenomenal. You know, I think, and I'll speak about DLI because of my experiences there, I think if we were going to improve on how we select and educate military linguists, I would make a couple of suggestions. And that is, I would allow linguists, to the greatest extent possible, those selected for training, to choose their language. That's not always going to happen because we need people to speak languages in places people don't want to go. But to the extent that you can, and I wanted to learn Arabic. A lot of people don't. I did. It's a great motivator, and motivation is a huge factor in success. So choice. The second thing I would ask of DoD, and I asked it then, I would continue to ask it now, is don't send people to language training that don't have the aptitude as demonstrated in the Defense Language Aptitude Battery. You know, we don't send people that don't pass the LSAT to law school, MCAT to med school. We shouldn't send people that fail the DLAB score test to a language that they will almost certainly fail. So don't waive it. Services have been willing to waive that to varying degrees over time. And the last thing I would say is build the day, and this is very tactical. It's very sort of in the moment of the experience. Build the day and the week and the months to optimize success of the young men and women there. Because at the end of the day, the young men and women going to Defense Language Institute, and I'm really talking about the young enlisted soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines rather than the foreign area officers, which I was part of, are remarkably bright. They are talented. They're motivated, and they've raised their hand and sworn an oath and gone through basic training, and they are now at Defense Language Institute in the stewardship of the faculty and the units there. And so if you can, for example, not get them up at 4:30 in the morning to start their day with cleaning their barracks room and doing PT and then getting chow and then going to the class to start their day at 8 o'clock already tired, that's okay. Get them up. Have them eat, go study after the duty day at 3 o'clock, give them PT. Work them out, get them outside, clear their heads, work their bodies, make them sweat, and then let them go eat dinner and do their homework. To the extent that you can get them to bed at a decent hour and not playing video games, that's great too. But all of that can optimize success.
Well, bringing it back into international success here at NPS, how can we integrate better with foreign partners? And are there opportunities for the students here to even go visit them?
That's a great question. So the international program at Naval Postgraduate School is one of the largest in DoD. It is remarkably rich in the sense that we have 55 countries represented here, 211 students from those 55 countries, and their families in most cases. And we have them for a long time. They're not just here for a Ranger School or Airborne School or what have you, whatever school they might be going to elsewhere in the United States. They're here for a master's degree or certificate program for a year, 15, 18, 24 months. That's a long time. And so we have an opportunity at NPS to show these international students some of the best that America has to offer, some of the best from an education perspective. Our programs are some of the best around, to the best of American geography and culture. I mean, we're all lucky to live on the central coast of California. It's beautiful. And our team, we talk about Monterey will sell itself. We just kind of need to step out of the way and let it happen. So there's that aspect of it. And then to your point, there's this amazing fusion and relationship building that can happen between Americans and our international partners. That happens here at NPS on a daily basis in the classroom. It happens through the sponsor program, where each international student is paired with a U.S. officer student that is oftentimes in the same program of study, but not always. And their families have an opportunity to grow together. There are field trips that the International Programs Office takes our international students on. Sponsors are invited. So we have U.S. students and the international students sharing experiences to Sacramento, to Yosemite, to Washington, D.C., and elsewhere, where they can make memories for a lifetime.
That's really cool. I didn't realize that sponsors also went on those trips.
They do. Yeah, we're really happy with that.
We don't have international students in every curriculum here at NPS, as you just said. So how do you think we as students can better connect them to the student body?
Another great question. So International Day is a wonderful day each spring. This year is April 27th, where the international students will show their wares, whether it is food, music, traditional clothing. It is a great day where a lot of our countries represented here set up booths, and they're able to show their stuff. All of NPS is invited to that. And it's a great opportunity for U.S. students that may not have day-to-day contact with an international student for the reasons you mentioned earlier, to meet a lot of them. So that's one place to do it. The NPS Foundation has language tables where students that want to study French or Arabic or Spanish are able to get together and do so. So this is a great way for FAOs, foreign area officers that are studying in national security affairs or defense analysis, to meet with students that they may not see in class every day, to speak a foreign language and learn about their culture. In addition to that, we also have, through the NPS Foundation, clubs that our international students are active in, whether it's cycling, running, wine club. The international students love interacting in those clubs, and for U.S. students, it's a great opportunity. And lastly, the International Committee is a student-led, non-federal entity that has programs throughout the year where American students can participate in the leadership or in the programs with some international counterparts to get to know each other.
Okay. How do you feel about possibly opening International Day to the local communities, similar to the Cherry Blossom Festival and Friendship Day in Japan? Are you familiar with those?
Not specifically those, but
I was stationed in Japan, so I remember like Friendship Day in Japan, the gates were open and the locals would be able to come on base and take tours of the ships and do all that kind of stuff. It was really fun.
No,
This is not a trick question. You can say whatever you were thinking. This was a team-sourced question.
It's a great question. So when I was at Command and Defense Language Institute, I tried to open the base. We tried to bring people on board. And what I learned through that effort is that there is actually legislation that mandates a lot of what we do for base security. It's very difficult to get the kind of access that we'd like to see. I mean, we'd love to open the gates to the community. And we've thought about taking International Day off NPS for that reason. If we can't bring the local community to us, we'll go to the local community. That's still an option. It's just logistically challenging for our students who actually put the event on. And so we want to be mindful of impacting them with workload and so on. So for now, we have continued to do it on base, and we work with the base commander and his staff to try to allow as many people as possible to come on, given the constraints. And those, as you know, evolve over time, and they're currently pretty stringent.
Sure.
Yeah. And so we'd love to have it open. And I think our students would love to share with the community. We know that to be the case. So we do what we can within the security constraints, but we also have considered moving it to Custom House Plaza in Monterey by Fisherman's Wharf and doing it in a public venue there and partnering with Defense Language Institute, Middlebury Institute of International Studies, and making it a broader event. That's something that isn't that something? And so we may look in future years at doing that if we can come up with the resourcing such that we don't overburden our students with the logistics. But to your point, it's all about building those relationships, sharing those cultures. And Monterey, as you may know, has a moniker, and it's called the language capital of the world.
Yes.
And as the language capital of the world, the city itself, the city of Monterey, takes great pride in being the home to the international program at NPS, to the Middlebury Institute and its international programs, to Defense Language Institute, and to an amazingly diverse community where we have instructors and their families who speak so many languages, practice so many faiths, living in the same small coastal town.
Perfect. That sounds great. Thank you for that answer. Now moving into what I call personal question time, just a few questions. But these are just you, not necessarily, they'll be career, but it's just more of you as a human being, more of you as a leader, that kind of stuff. So first one of those, what's the toughest decision you have ever had to make in your career?
Boy, that's actually a hard question. Let me think about that for a minute. So as I think about difficult decisions, two things come to mind. One decision in the Pentagon where I was part of a team working on Iraq policy, and in the office of the Secretary of Defense, we had a diverse team, and some of the team members had strengths and weaknesses of various kinds. And we had a boss who was very, very difficult, tough taskmaster, smart, capable in many ways, but very tough. And we had come back from a Secretary of Defense trip to Iraq and the Middle East, and we were doing a after action review with him, and he was really down on one of the team members and just criticizing him pretty viciously. And he turned to me and asked me to validate his critique of this team member, and I wouldn't do it. And I remember thinking to myself, this is so wrong that I simply can't be a party to it. And that was a tough decision because I knew that probably cost me my career with him, because I went from being very highly regarded by him, apparently, to where he wanted my opinion, to not so much. But it was the right thing to do. So that was a tough decision. Another decision was when I was in command of Defense Language Institute and we were directed to make pretty severe budget cuts, was the ultimate decision about how to reduce faculty. That was an impactful decision on so many lives that we took our time to think through it, but ultimately it came down to just a really, really tough call. And I hated to make it, but it had to be done. So those are tough for different reasons.
Right. Impacts, but personal versus other human impacts outside.
Right. But I think as I was thinking about that, Alanna, I think, generally speaking, the most difficult decisions we face at least in my experience in the military, they involve people.
Absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. What is a belief that you held early in your career that you've since changed your mind about?
Well, I think that early on in my career, I certainly was, still am to a certain degree, I was effusively optimistic.
And it's changed. It's changed by the end of your career. Oh no.
I don't think it's changed completely, but I think the gray on my head and the wrinkles on my face, I think I've just become
That's fair enough. That's a realistic thing
Yeah.
to say. Yes.
become more of a realist
Yeah.
than I used to be, certainly.
Okay, that's completely acceptable. Hilarious, but acceptable. You've worked with some of the most capable operators and policymakers in the world. What traits distinguish the truly great ones?
Well, their character.
What do you mean by that?
Their core belief system, they share sort of an unwavering moral compass. They share certainly a tenacity and commitment to the mission, to their team, and they care. And caring ties to the commitment to the team in terms of just being there for the people, for their families.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I agree. I've seen that myself. Last personal question. What's the best piece of leadership advice you've ever received?
I should have gotten these questions in advance because they're good ones. They're good ones. So I've been very fortunate to have had amazing mentors and examples over the years. And I've learned a lot of good and I've seen a lot of bad, and I've learned from both. I think one nugget that really stands out as I think about best advice was from General Marty Dempsey when he was commander of the multinational training mission in Iraq. And we were there assessing the training of Iraqi police and army forces. And as we were churning on strategy and policy and this and that, he said something very simple, but it was just impactful to me. He said, "Look, Dino," he said, "we're managing change here." And that sounds so simple, right? Just sounds so intuitively obvious. And yet it framed the situation for me, helped me understand the situation in a way that we were not, before he said that, we were not looking at it that way. We were looking at sort of discrete statistics and numbers and inputs and outputs, and as we are wont to be when we're sort of this data-centric decision making. And when you talk about managing change, it captures the human dynamic, it captures time, it captures resources, outcomes. It was just a great piece of advice from a senior leader.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay. The next and last segment that I would like to play with you, or at least like to conduct with your permission, is called Rapid Fire. You will say either underrated or overrated.
Okay.
You take a split second to say it, and I have 5 things to say, and then you'll say overrated or underrated. All right, here we go. Number 1, the effectiveness of counterinsurgency doctrine.
Underrated.
Second, AI-driven decision-making in military operations.
Overrated.
The role of elite military units in great power competition.
Underrated.
The use of wargaming in military education.
Underrated.
The importance of physical fitness for intelligence officers.
Underrated.
All right, that's it. Good job.
Those are actually easy.
Fair enough. It was the first time I've ever played that game with a guest.
Oh, interesting.
So thank you for being the first one.
Sure.
Thank you so much for spending the time with me and doing this interview.
Sure.
I'm sure the listeners are learning some amazing things. I enjoyed my time immensely. Do you have anything else that you would like to say?
No, I really appreciate the time with you and hope the listeners find some part of this interesting.
Great. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you back.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us in the Trident Room. For more information about today's guests and topics, please visit the show notes online at nps.edu/Trident Room Podcast. The Trident Room Podcast has been brought to you by the Naval Postgraduate School Alumni Association and Foundation. For questions, comments, and suggestions, please email us at tridentroompodcasthost@nps.edu.